morning everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, hit the sub button and leave a like in the video, comment down below, all that kind of stuff. Any questions, just comment down below and I will try to get back to you if I can at all. So what are we doing today? Well, fertiliser spreaders on the background, you can see it. We're trying to get some fertiliser out on our winter crops, putting on the nitrogen now at this, or the first application of nitrogen on the winter barley and winter wheat. It's a couple of weeks since we applied our first go of fertiliser, so I'm going to just put the drone up, take a little bit of a general footage just up and down the field, have a little look at that, small voiceover, not a massive amount of footage, but just we'll check out, see how it's progressed in the couple of weeks since we were last out in it. Also, springtime obviously is well and truly here. A lot of the spring work is all starting, so this video we're going to be doing some land rolling on some poached ground at the yard. We're going to be spreading some slurry then as well on grazing, and we'll talk about our silage preparations, which are going to be going on now over the next week or so too. We usually try to cut our silage towards the end of May, so yeah, we've plenty of work to do, all spring work, lots of tractor work, and yeah, we'll have a whole rundown of what's going on and what we're up to. So right, let's get going at the fertiliser. Bit of drone footage, we'll do a voiceover on that next, just see how we're getting on with that, and we'll move on then to the next thing. So let's get going at it. It's a bit chilly this morning, sun's just come out, which is good, and hopefully it'll warm everything up. So okay, so first voiceover in this video. We're out now. This is the winter wheat, so we're going to have a little look around it. It's a couple of weeks now since we were last out here. Last time we seen this, we were applying the compound fertiliser. Since that, it's done very well. You can see it's ticking up quite nicely. A lot of the patchy areas have all started to ticken up. There was small plants there that since they've got the fertiliser, a little bit of rain, a little bit milder weather, they've all jumped out of the ground, and it's doing well. Now it was just ready for an application of nitrogen, and then a little bit later on, when we hit it with growth regulator CCC to get a tiller out, I think this crop will take up very nicely and should do well. So overall, very happy with it, and ideal timing to get the fertiliser out on this. So here we are now. We're now out in our winter barley, and it is doing very well. This is actually the following morning, so yeah, it's doing extremely well. Be very happy with how it is progressing. Now you can see it is a slightly lighter colour of green, so this here was hungry now for some nitrogen. We've after having a prolonged dry spell, we're kind of waiting for a little bit of rain to be on the forecast, and to get this out and to get it moving. So it's got a nice, it's got a good shot of fertiliser now at this point. The rain comes straight after I spread it. It actually rained the evening after I spread it, and now a bit of mild weather, and this will jump out of the ground. So yeah, overall very happy with how the crops are doing this year. Much better than last year. Hopefully we don't get the same drought and dry spell now in this spring that we got last year, but it's not looking like it at the minute. So yeah, on to the next part of the video. Okay, so that's the fertiliser done and dusted. Since that, we've had some lovely rain over the last 24 hours. That was done yesterday, the fertiliser, and yeah, it's been washed in very nicely. We've moved on now. We're spreading a bit of slurry. Before we get to the slurry, I'm going to just send you now on to a little bit of rolling that we done over the weekend. We had the roller on the 3650, just flattening out some paddocks. So I'll do a little bit of a voiceover for some of the footage of that as well, and then we can come back then for the slurry and afterwards. Alright, so we're doing a bit of rolling here. Now before we get talking about why we're rolling or what we're doing here, 3650, you can see it is out earning its keep here. Still no work being done to it. Somebody was slagging me that it's starting to look like this is going to be a winter project for next year, but it shouldn't be. No, we've just been so busy with cows calving. We had intended to start it over the last few weeks. Cows calving. There just seems to be one thing after another that's going on, and it just keeps getting pushed down the road a little bit. But we're going to leave it now for another week or two till we get all the spring work done, get all that done out of the way. We'll use it, probably use it for the rolling of the silage and hay ground, and
we can do the work to it then. Kind of there'll be a wee bit of a lull between the spring walk and cattle getting out and before silage and hay starts. So we'll have probably 5 or 6 weeks there where we'll be able to get stuck into it and get the work done to it. So that's the plan. We'll see if it works out or not. Maybe it could end up being a winter project. I think it could get pushed down the road again, but hopefully not. Yeah, so what are we at? Well, we are rolling here, as I said. We are rolling poached ground. Few fields, or a few paddocks, should I say, we have here around the yard that usually end up getting grazed. Got grazed late on last year. There's usually a couple of horses in it all the time. We maybe keep a couple of cows. If there was a cow maybe we were going to cull off, or a couple of cows, we'd keep them around the yard, not let them back to the bull, or keep them away from the main group of cows. And they end up staying around the yard. Last year they was there a little bit longer than usual, ended up poaching the ground, and we're rolling it. So we're just trying to straighten it out a little bit before slurrying it. So Roller's doing a good job on it. This Watson roller, we have it about 15 years. It's 3/4 ways full with waste oil, so it's good and heavy, and it's no problem for it then to level out the likes of all these marks in the field. So yeah, ideal for the job. Now there is still little bits of holes and divots in it, but we're not that worried about them. This bottom end of this field we have done in the past, ploughed it up with the horses and grown a little bit of oats in it, and then harvested it, done all the work with the horses on it. So and we intend to do that again. It obviously won't be this year, but in the next year or two we're going to do that again, do all the work with the horses, and it'll be all ploughed up again. So we're not that bothered about it, but we do want to get a bit of grass growing on it and make some use of it over the next number of months, and have something grazing on it. Yeah, 2 horses, or 2 walking horses will be grazing on it mostly. There is a little bit of footage of them coming up now towards the end of this part of the video, and you'll see them there. But yeah, that's it. We'll move on to the next part of the video. I'll put a bit of music in now just until these few clips finishes up.
Alright, so we're trying to get slurry on the silage ground. We're kind of against the clock now at this point. We've got about 8 weeks to go before cutting the silage, roughly, maybe a little bit more than that. We aim to cut it by about the end of May. So yeah, we've got a little over 8 weeks to play about it. We want to have everything out before the middle of next week. So slurry is going out today. We're due to get rain over the weekend. Slurry going out today and tomorrow. Due to get rain over the weekend. And then next week, around maybe Tuesday of next week, Wednesday of next week, we want to get the fertiliser out on the silage ground. So against the clock to get it done, but we should get it done. You can see quite watery slurry going on with this because there's a little bit of grass there. Not much grass, but just a little bit of grass. This was grazed fairly late last year. We'd cattle out on it, grazed it all down, nice and pale, but a bit of growth over the winter, and now in the early springtime has brought it up a little bit more than what it would usually. So yeah, it's a bit of a balancing match. We were thinking about letting some cattle out on it to eat it down, but the problem with that is some of this ground, the bottom half of it is quite wet. There's a river along the bottom side, can flood in a few times over the winter time, and it just means then it takes a bit of time in the spring then for it to dry out, and to put cattle into it probably would mark it up, poach it, and it's not what you want to do on your silage ground. Bring on weeds and all different issues. So yeah, we're opting to put some watery slurry out in it. We got some loads of slurry drew into a tank. Some of the slurry, a bit like ourselves, is a little bit on the thick side, so we ended up having to add some watery slurry to it, mix it up. It really tinned it out really nice, and yeah, we're putting it on here, and it should wash in fairly quickly. Now you can see this is the bottom side of it here. You can see where it's a little bit darker. The top side here was slurried as a shower of rain came, and it's already washed it down and in. So that's what we wanted to do. We don't want it to be thick, sticking to the grass and not being able to get it washed in. So that's exactly what we want to see happening. But yeah, if everything goes to plan, we'll be fine. We'll get everything out by the middle of next week, and we'll be able to cut our silage around the 27th, 28th, 29th of May. So that's what we're aiming for. We have pulled our silage cutting dates forward a little bit. We used to always aim for the first week in June, let it bulk up a little bit, but we're just putting them forward a wee bit. We're going to go for a little bit less bulk, a little bit more in quality, and it should help then when you're feeding your cattle inside to have a wee bit better silage. So that's the plan. We'll see how it all works out. Next bit of footage you're going to see is a bit of footage I took last night. It's not that long, it's only a couple of minutes long, just when I was spreading a bit of slurry on the grazing ground. I will get some footage over the next few days when I'm spreading on the other fields, bit of drone footage, and that will be in the next video. But yeah, that's really this should be roughly about the end of the tractor footage once you see the next bit of drone footage. Also going to give a small update on the calves when I get back to the yard, so that will be after the drone footage. That will be the last part of the video, so you can watch out for that.
Fill me out with your smile, now the sunshine brings the light. Fill me out with a flame, I will let you in this game. Take me out when I'm down, 'cause with you I'm saving some, 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 I'm saving some.
Right, so calving update. No calving updates in a little bit. We're down to the last 11 to calve. We have 39 calved. This is the last one that was born, which was born yesterday. He hasn't been tagged yet, hasn't gotten out. We didn't let him out because there's a little bit of some showers over the next couple of days. The weather is turning a little bit colder, so we just said we'd keep him in for a few days and just make sure he was okay. He was a little sluggish to get up and get drinking, but he's drinking superbly well today and going very well. Actually, I didn't even look to see was it a male or female. I think it's a little female, but I could be wrong. This is, I was actually wanted to get rid of this cow here because she had a section a couple of years ago on her first calf, and she's never really recovered condition wise. She's always thin looking, and this will be her last calving, so yeah, we'll be either replacing her or maybe not replace her. I don't know, we'll have to see what happens with her. 2 cows here. Both these cows came back inside. One of these calves had pneumonia and the other one had scour. So this little guy here had pneumonia, so he's getting treated for that. That one over there had scour, so he had to come back in. He's only 5 days old now, the little guy at the back. So yeah, keeping a tight eye on them outside. There's another one we also took in. She is over here as well. There's actually 4 of them was taken back in for one reason or other. 2 had pneumonia, 2 had scour, and yeah, rest of them that are outside are all doing okay, but you just have to watch them. If there's a temperature change at all, they seem very susceptible to. Some of them get out and get acclimatized fine. Sometimes you let them out and temperature change, and next thing you have a couple of calves then that maybe one ear dropped. You know, none of them were terribly bad, but at the same time, if you had to leave them out for another day, it'd be a drip job the next day, you know, so you'd have the vet out and put a drip into them, and you don't want any of that. So that's kind of what is happening on the calving front. So these 2 pens here are the last 2. We lost a calf as well, actually, a number of days ago. See, I haven't done a calving update in a little bit. We lost one calf, took scour, took pneumonia as well. One of the oldest calves, we had a big strong calf and couldn't be saved. Had the vet out, drips into him. Put 2 gallons of, over a space of a couple of days, we put 2 gallons of drip into him, and we just could not save him no matter what we done. So he passed away. So, but that's the only calf we've lost so far. No matter what you do, it's very hard to get them all out alive. Well, get them out alive, but then something usually happens. Usually crypto for us, but anyway, that's a whole other story. Yeah, what else is there here? 2 bulls we purchased 50 bulls for finishing, and there's 2 of those. One of them had his stomach ulcer, so he was getting treated for that. And there's another one then, he was blowing a little bit as well, so he had a little bit of pneumonia down the other shed, so he came up here as well. And yeah, there's just seems to be, we could daily do it a vet here all the time just at the minute, the way things is going. But yeah, we're getting on top of it, and apart from that one calf, everything else is on the control at the minute. But yeah, it's just been a hectic few days. I haven't done many videos up. There hasn't been time to make many videos, so you'll have to just excuse that. But yeah, that's it. That's really a whole update on everything. More slurry going on, as I say. Fertiliser next week, all that kind of stuff's going to be going on. I'll put that all in next week's video, or it'll be probably around the middle of next week, hopefully. And yeah, we'll see what else happens, or if there's anything else that I can make a video on or report on. That's it for today's video. If you're already subscribed, thank you for subscribing. If you're not, hit the sub button, costs you nothing. You can also, when you're down there hitting the sub button, there's a little bell there beside it. Click on it. It'll just notify you every time I post a video, and it'll mean that you'll not have to go searching for it or looking for it. So yeah, do that. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it as well. Comment down below if you have any questions. All these interactions all help me and help the channel, so if you can do it, greatly appreciate it. That's it for today's video. We'll see you next week. Hope you all have a good weekend. We'll see you then.